You may be asked to write an essay on the similarities and differences between two articles. Passage 1 is something to howl about, and passage 2 is horse talk, they have a lot to say. For this task, question 7 is a writing prompt. It says, what are the similarities and differences in the ways that wolves and horses communicate? In your own words, write a multi-paragraph response that describes the similarities and differences in the ways that wolves and horses communicate. Be sure to include information about the reasons each animal communicates. Your response must be based on ideas and information that can be found in both passages. As you write your response, use your own words to introduce and develop a topic. Use evidence from the passages to support your topic, and use clear language to express ideas about your topic by making connections to your evidence. Be sure to include an introduction, create focused, organized paragraphs, pay attention to the grammar, structure, and mechanics of your sentences, and include a conclusion. Write your multi-paragraph response in the space provided. The mistake that most students make is they immediately begin to type after reading the passages and the question. You need to take a moment to organize your thoughts on the similarities and differences in the way that wolves and horses communicate. You will be provided with a blank piece of paper. Use this as a graphic organizer. In that graphic organizer, you're going to set up similarities and differences between wolves communicating and horses communicating. You're going to make sure that you've got an introduction, at least 3 paragraphs, and then after you write, you're going to check your writing for grammar, structure, and mechanics, meaning capitalization and punctuation. Notice that they are not grading on spelling. However, your words need to be phonetically correct, meaning they should be able to sound out what it is that you're writing. If you haven't already read these passages, take a moment to read through passage 1 and passage 2. You'll have to pause in order to read the screens. After you've read these articles, you're going to use your blank piece of paper to create a graphic organizer. Because the question is asking about similarities and differences, I recommend that you start with a Venn diagram where you have the differences on the outside, similarities on the inside. Here you can see I've set up my Venn diagram with wolves on the left, horses on the right, and anything they share in common will go in the center of this Venn diagram. After reading the passage twice, once for understanding and twice to go back and highlight, I now am ready to set up my Venn diagram. There were certain things I noticed that wolves do and horses don't do. So that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to include in my Venn diagram. For example, they growl, they whimper, and they howl. I also highlighted why wolves communicate. Wolves communicate to protect their territory. Notice I'm not using complete sentences, I'm just using phrases. They often did it to communicate with their family. And when they are teaching their pups survival skills. It says that they also speak up to talk to their family about food. So I'm going to add that over here as well. What I highlighted in the horses is that they send definite messages. They communicate with one another and send definite messages, as well as to humans. And they have different things that they quote unquote say. For example, they can neigh, they can whinny, which is kind of like a neigh, it sounds like. They can snort, and it says they also blow through their nostrils as a way of communicating. Now, they do have some things in common. For example, they communicate within their own species. It sounds like they both like to send off a warning call when needed. Over here, I'm going to add that the horse's body language help us know what the horse is thinking. I think that's important too. So now I've got some things that they have different and some things that they have in common. Now I need to go back and think about what I want to write for a multi-paragraph essay. Multi-paragraph means at least 3. So I think I'm going to write an essay that talks about what wolves do, what horses do, and then these things that they have in common. So it would be nice if I had 2 more things maybe that they have in common to help bring that together. I'm going to add that both can communicate over long distances. It says that very clearly in the wolf passage in regards to howling works best over long distances and how far away they can be. The horse article doesn't tell us how far apart they can be, but it does talk about staying in touch with other horses and calling out. So that makes me believe that they can be far away from one another and hear one another in order to communicate. So I'm going to add that as one other thing that they have in common. So now I've got a lot of information here for wolves as paragraph 1, about horses for paragraph 2, and then about things that they have in common for paragraph 3.